We are breaking down all the differences and similarities between Untitled Boxing Game and Hajime no Ippo. This is actually a part 2 to my previous video where we broke down all the rare and uncommon fighting styles, but today we get into the exciting stuff. The first mythic style we will go over is Ippo Style, used by our beloved protagonist Ippo Makanuchi. Now Ippo, he is one of the best boxers in the world at featherweight, in my opinion. He's a genius infighter with top tier speed, stamina, power, defense, and attack. That coupled with his signature moves like the liver shot, gazelle punch, Dempsey roll, and others cause him to be a deadly force that will eventually become the greatest to ever do it. Using a variation of the peekaboo style, Ippo is an infighter with a barrage of hooks to the head and body, along with a rib cracking and jaw breaking uppercuts. Good damage, good dash, slower startup. I feel like they hit the nail on the head here. The mention of the peekaboo style is not only because Ippo uses it, but that it was inspired by the infamous Mike Tyson, who was mentioned in the anime as well. When it comes to the Dempsey roll, it is Ippo's go-to move to discombobulate his enemies and finish them in a moment's notice. I wonder if UBG will be around long enough to see the new and improved Ippo in the manga, and if they would change his style or leave it. The ultimate being the Dempsey roll is inspired by just Ippo, because he uses it in almost every fight that he's in. You would think I would have to talk about this style for longer due to it being the main character's style, but it's so uncanny from the anime that I'm just gonna have to give it a 99% similarity rating. After that is the hands low style, which is the style of Takuma Saiki. This is basically just a good version of long guard style, I'm not gonna lie. Fast, sharp, technical, but having your hands down is risky. Great dash, start speed, and slight counter bonus at the cost of taking more counter damage. The first 3 words in that description is pretty precise on describing how somebody like Saiki fights. He's been boxing for a long time and even studied at Toyo Sports University. He is known for being exceptionally fast to the point that during his spar with Date, he didn't get hit once. Now relax, Date would smoke this you. The fact that your M1 and M2s are very fast and you deal more counter damage is perfect for someone like Saiki, but the big downside being you take more counter damage. This makes sense because in the same fight that Saiki lands his blinding rush ult, he also gets knocked out by Ippo with a counter. I'd give hands low a 90% similarity rating. Next up is Wolf Style, used by Alexander Volg Zangief. Hard name. Description says, a textbook style with no major downsides and a unique ability. Before I explain that, let me tell you why this fighting style has no major flaws. This is because Volg is an incredible boxer and probably the most well-rounded boxer we have ever seen. He's the only person we know a lot about that was a world champion, but unfortunately he was an amateur world champion, not professional. The special ability allows you to double up on your M2 and execute a white fang, dealing extra damage and block break. In the anime, Volg has a quick powerful uppercut followed by an overhand that causes enough damage to immediately put most boxers away, called white fang. This is why the special ability to double up your M2s on Wolf Style is very accurate. Wolf Style's ultimate is true white fang and is 2 white fang combinations consecutively. I'm giving Wolf Style an 80%. The second last mythic fighting style is Bullet Style, of which the user is Ruhei Sawamura, a combination of insane talent, arrogance, and absolute killer instinct. And just like that description, Sawamura is a demon turned boxing prodigy. When I tell you that this guy was such a menace that his own math teacher tried to put him on a good path by introducing him to boxing, yet it completely backfired. Like, how is this guy in a boxing anime and he's trying to murk man? With Bullet Style, your heavy thunderbolt attack deals high counter damage, but your base damage and dash are weak. Sawamura is a genius when it comes to counter damage, so it makes sense for the style to have high counter damage. More specifically, his counters are usually before or after his opponent has thrown their punch. This is shown with the special ability of Bullet Style, which states that your bullet jabs come out instantly if you fire after an opponent dashes. As for the base damage and dash being weak, there is no ground to support this in the anime, but it makes sense to balance out the fighting style. The ultimate of this style is called the cheating combo because Sawamura is known for committing fouls whenever he can just because he wants to. Like his bro fighting in the UFC or boxing? I feel like the ult is a combination of various fouls Sawamura has committed in his fights. However, it is not an exact sequence in any of his matches, giving bullet style a 75%. The final mythic style is shotgun style, which is used in the anime by Ryuichi Hayami. This guy was introduced in the Rookie King tournament arc very early on into the show. At the time of his appearance, he was Ippo's biggest challenge, being a 3-time inter-high champion and a boxing prodigy. We all know where this is going. With a unique ability that lets you throw rapid jabs if your hand was a shotgun and well-rounded stats, you are a true prodigy. I would say the M1 and M2 are pretty on theme with Hayami's style, and even more accurately, the unique ability Barrage is portrayed exactly like how it is demonstrated in the show. The only weakness of this style is having a glass jaw that is very weak to counter damage. You know how sometimes say his jaw got smoked? Well, Ippo literally left this fool with a jaw made out of Play-Doh. I'm not joking, because in the anime, it is stated that Hayami suffers from a glass jaw ever since his fight with Ippo. With that being said, the ultimate is called target practice, which involves 3 dodges followed by a strong short uppercut, then finally a barrage. This is because the uppercut is Hayami's strategy against infighters who dive deeply in the show. I give this a solid 95%. The first legendary fighting style we have is Hitman Style. Not only is this my main style in the game, but the style of my favorite character in Hajime no Ippo. Ryu Mashiba is a user of this style and was taken from real-world inspiration of Tommy the Hitman Hearns. Although it is said that Mashiba came up with this style on his own instead of how Ippo was recommended peekaboo style because of Mike Tyson's success with it. Punishes others with devastating flicker jabs and chopping rights. Fast startup with good range, great damage, but weak dash. Just like the description says, Mashiba's biggest weapon is his flicker jabs, which are sharp, speedy jabs thrown like a whip from an unusually long distance away. Mashiba is able to do this due to his long reach and tall height for his weight class. As for the M2, Mashiba is known to throw long hooks as well as a chopping right hand, which is when a punch looks more like the action of chopping wood than the orthodox straight punching methods. Hitman's ult, Nightmare Barrage. I think it is very reminiscent of this scene where Mashiba knocks Ippo down, but without a doubt is taken right off the Hajime no Ippo PS3 game, as you can see. For the weakness of the fighting style being weak dashes, I think it is a very good balancer for the style, but Mashiba's footwork is not an addressed topic in the series, so I don't think it's accurate, leaving Hitman style with a 70% similarity rating. Secondly is Slugger style, used by the GOAT Mamoru Takamura. Takamura is the alpha of all alphas and an apex predator. I'm not joking, fam. He literally killed a bear with his bare hands. Pun intended. On top of that, all his fights have been against animals. I mean, he beat Brian Hawk, David Eagle, and even ends up being Richard Bison. The man has his sights on 11 world titles, so you have to be special to even conceive that idea. Description states a genius in the ring with overwhelming power. You throw every shot with 110%. Weak dash and block, but amazing punch damage. Don't let the name fool you, bruh. Takamura is a genius boxer with insane work ethic and one of the deadliest punchers in the world. On top of all that, the damage for his style is very fitting for Takamura, and the unique ability to charge up your heavy attacks is a very cool gimmick that is on theme to him. Words cannot explain how good this man is at what he does. His physical attributes are described as superhuman and monstrous, in particular his power and stamina. However, even his speed is on par with the fastest of featherweights. On top of that, his fighting instincts are on such a high level that feints are nearly useless against him, as he can intuitively discern whether a punch is real or not. His genius even extends to the theoretical aspects of boxing, as he possesses great insights that allow him to frequently teach others. He has proven capable of mimicking any moves he sees or experiences, such as Richard Bison's flicker jabs and Ippo Makanouchi's tornado jolt. The ultimate is simply called Rage, and is from his fight with the next person up on this list. therefore giving Slugger style a 95% similarity rating. Just like I said, the next style is Hawk style, used by the infamous Brian Hawk. Infamous because he's famous for all the wrong reasons. Bro's out here catcalling shorties as soon as he touches down in Japan, fetishizing Asian women, and even smacking a doo-doo out of the elderly. Outside of the ring, Hawk is horrendous, but not gonna lie, inside the ring, it is a spectacle to watch him. His unorthodox style and insane flexibility allows him to fight unlike anyone else. No one is able to read or predict his movements, and with his shots being thrown from here and his dodging looking like this, how could you read this? This all aligns with the description saying a wild and unpredictable style that can throw punches from any possible angle. Good counters, damage, but bad blocks. Unique ability, sway back. You can't move backwards, but you can perfect dodge all punches with it. If you play UBG ranked, you know how annoying this can be in the hands of somebody good with it. The M1 and the M2 all look similar to how Hawk throws his punches. When it comes to the ultimate, pure violence, you can see it against his fight with Takamura in several exchanges, but is truly taken from the previous mentioned Hajime no Ippo PS3 game. The ult being called pure violence is a callback to Hawk's trainer Miguel, referring to Hawk's style as pure violence. The block being the weakest in the game is valid due to Takamura finding out that since Hawk's style is so unorthodox, he can find gaps in his guards and find him off balance when he throws his shots. I'm giving Hawk's style an 85%. Thirdly is Ghost style, the style that everybody wants in the game, used by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Ricardo Martinez. Mexicans who don't even recognize their own political leaders know Ricardo's name. WBC champions aren't even considered the strongest in the world due to Ricardo's presence in the WBA. He is also the man who gave Date his iconic scar. I'm just gonna say simply, he is the best. Like in the world, it's not even close. 68-0 being undefeated WBA champion for almost 10 years and has yet to have been pushed to his limits. He who rules with his lefts rule the world. Like a ghost, your punches are hard to see coming. Special ability, Ghost Jab. You can fire off a near instant unreadable punch to start combos. However, if you miss or it gets blocked, you will get stunned. Let's talk about this. You see, in the anime, Ricardo is nicknamed Omega due to him reaching such a mastery in the boxing fundamentals. Ricardo's gimmick is that he has no gimmick. You see, he has owned his skills to the point where he defeats you on pure boxing fundamentals alone. Ghost out in the game has to be somewhat beatable, so the Ghost Jab's ability has a stun if missed or blocked, but in the anime, this drawback is not shown. The whole reason for this style and abilities being called Ghost is because people refer to Ricardo's punches as invisible, like a ghost is hitting you, as well as his punches reach a deceivingly long distance than first thought. There is no tells in Ricardo's boxing, and there has yet to be shown a flaw in his boxing IQ or physicality. It makes sense why this style was so utterly broken before all the nerfs, and is still an S tier style to many people, including me, whose second main is Ghost style. Ultimate, goodbye. This is a mix of Ricardo's spars with Ippo and his knockout blow on Date-san. Poor guy lost to one of the greatest boxers to ever live, retired, his wife had a miscarriage, had to go work a grueling 9 to 5, come out of retirement, beat Ippo in hopes to get back on the world stage, all to get put advantages like he just fought Kaido. Broski had to pass the baton to a kid he just beat. Huh? Regardless of that, Ghost style is getting a fitting 90% similarity rating. The penultimate legendary fighting style is Iron Fist style. No, not from that Iron Fist. From Genji Kamigawa, otherwise known as Chief Kamigawa, who is a long retired prize fighter and is now a trainer and owner of the Kamigawa gym. In the beginning of the story, Kamigawa was skeptical about training somebody who looks like Ippo, but when he found out about his power, he immediately took interest in him. This is because Kamigawa himself in the past was a notorious hard hitter. Nothing is a greater shortcut than hard work. Your hands were forged from hard training and deal massive damage and inflict slowing, but they hurt you when you land them. On top of that, you take less damage from being countered while throwing your heavy punches. This description perfectly explains Kamigawa. The Kamigawa gym is known to be a home to hard-working fighters above all else, especially someone like Kamigawa who lived in a post-World War II Japan. He needed to work extremely hard to be even seen as a real boxer in the eyes of the public, who at the time were infested with leftover American soldiers. In Kamigawa's only on-screen fight, we can see his hand problems occur. Deku and Kamigawa both suffer from the same success, that being their strength supersedes their body's ability to hold it. But Deku goes on to become a god and have all the quirks in the world, and so forget about him. This is why the fighting style chips away at your own HP after you land your M2s. Kamigawa has the heart of a samurai, explaining as to why he accumulated so much damage and kept fighting, explaining why you take less damage after being countered. The ultimate is called No Rib Survived. And I think it's very fitting because he probably kills Anderson with these punches right here. Other than slow startup, I don't think this fighting style has many downfalls because the M2s are deceptively slow to the point that the average person cannot frequently perfect dodge them. All that being said, I'm giving Iron Fist style a 95% rating. Finally comes the last legendary style, Freedom Style. Just like the name implies, you are not bound by any single style, since inside the ring you are absolutely free. Unique ability, you can swap between 3 different modes: Whirlwind, Flicker, and Smash, each having advantages and disadvantages. However, you are very fragile. You see, Freedom Style is used by Wally. If you're an anime only watcher, then you have no idea who that is, but let me explain. Warning, manga spoilers will now be told, so skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear them. Wally is a featherweight professional boxer and renowned Indonesian champ. Wally is by far the most naturally talented fighter we have ever seen, even being recognized by Ricardo for it. Being raised in the jungle allowed him to move like a monkey more than a human. He's incredibly agile and light on his feet, causing him to be able to move like Muhammad Ali. By combining his superhuman athleticism, reflexes, and wild instincts, he created an extremely unpredictable and unorthodox boxing style called Freedom, though he was also taught the basics of orthodox boxing. The press has also given him the nickname as Alpha, as his irregular style and wild instincts make him to appear to predate textbook boxing theory, and that is in direct contrast to somebody like Ricardo, who has perfected the orthodox style, Alpha Omega. You get it? On top of all that, he's extremely perceptive, and without studying their moves, he was able to imitate flicker jabs like Mashiba, dodging like Hawk, and smashing like Sendo. Pause. Just because it felt right for him to do those things. This is why you get those abilities that come with Freedom Style. Freedom's ultimate, Last Sun, is a combination attack of all 3 fighting styles inside of Freedom Style, followed up with Wally's very own mid-air punch that was used on our boy Ippo. Last Sun is also a callback to his trainer Miguel, who was the trainer of Brian Hawk, who thinks of Wally as his last son because of his age not allowing him with much time left, as well as playing on the son-son dichotomy, and with him believing that Wally is his last shot at a world championship. If you don't play the game, you're probably thinking that Freedom is broken, but the major drawbacks is you are very fragile. The fragileness can be seen in his fight with Ippo, where it only takes a couple of body shots to wear him down enough to disable his footwork. Wally is also known not to have the best level of endurance due to it being Ippo's game plan to beat him. Freedom Style makes sense being a legendary because without a doubt, Wally is going to be a problem on the world stage, with my final similarity rating being a 99%. But that's all for today, peoples. I know you guys will correct any mistakes I made down in the comments below, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to show some support for me for doing this video. And even before you comment, I know a lot of the ults come from the previous mentioned Hajime no Ippo PS3 game, but I'm sure I forgot to mention some. But you like when I fix things, right? If you want to see me fix another Roblox game, a very popular one, it'll be on the screen and in the description. But other than that, you already know what it is. Millz Mafia out. Yeah. All in two.